Hey guys, today we're going to go over our Unit 1 study guide that you worked out yesterday, and make sure that you're writing down the correct answers on a piece of paper as we go through this, or if you have a paper copy of your study guide, fill in the right answers as we go. Sorry, I'm trying to get something off my iPad screen. There we go. Alright, so we're going to start with number 1. It said to choose all the numbers that round to 10,000 when rounded to the nearest 10,000. So I need to think about my rounding rules. Remember that the rules for rounding say if it's between 0 and 4, you're going to leave the number the same. But if it's between 5 and 9, you're going to round the number up to the next digit. Okay? So if I look at these answers, I know it can't be this first one because even if I round that, it only rounds to 1,000, and we're looking for stuff that has 10,000. Okay, so the next number, 9,999. Let me zoom in. If we look at the thousands place, its next door neighbor's a 9. This 9 is going to make it round up to a 10, right? And if it goes up to a 10, it does now have a 10,000s place. So this one is a possible answer. If you look back at the question, it said to choose all of them. So there's more than one. If I look at the next one down, the 10,000s place is where we're rounding to. So I'm going to put a box around 10,000, and I'm going to look at its neighbor. The next door neighbor is a 1. My rounding rules tell me the 1 makes it stay the same. So that one would round to 10,000 as well. If I go on down, I put a box around my 10,000. The 3 next door makes it stay the same. So this one would also round to 10,000. And finally, if I put a box around my 10,000s place, the 9 next door is going to make it go up, right? So the 1 is going to turn into a 2, and everything else is going to become a 0. That one does not round to 10,000 when rounded to the nearest 10,000s place. So it is not one of your answers. That's my husband's alarm. If you hear it, I'm sorry. He's still in the bed. Alright, next you're going to write the symbol that makes the comparison true. So the alligator wants to eat our bigger number. So if I look at these two numbers, this one is larger. I'm going to choose that one. Number 3. You're making these up. There's no specific 3 numbers that round to 60,000 when rounded to the nearest 10,000. You could have written a ton of different answers. Your numbers could have started with a 5 or a 6. Those are the only 2 things it could have started with, though. And then you need to make sure that whatever number comes next, if you're starting with a 5, the next number would have made the 5 round up to a 6. So that could have been any number between 55,000 all the way up to 59,999, because all of those numbers would make it round up. Okay? So then if you're going to start your number with a 6, it's got to be a number that doesn't round up, because we want it to round to 60,000. So it could have been any number between 60,000 and 64,999, because those would have stayed the same. Because our rounding rule says 5 to 9 goes up, 0 to 4 stays the same. These had numbers 5 to 9, 0 to 4. So these would have rounded up to 60,000, and these would have rounded down or stayed the same and still stayed 60,000. So any number between those. Number 4. John wrote a number that has a 5 in the thousands place. I don't know this number, but I know it's got a 5 in the thousands place. And then it says it's got a 6 in the tens place. So I don't know if there's more digits in front of it. I don't know what the hundreds place is. I don't know what the ones place is. But I do know my answer is going to have a 5 in the thousands place and a 6 in the tens place. So I'm going to look at these and find one that matches. The only one that has that is B. It's got a 5 in thousands, 6 in tens. Number 5. Look at the numbers in the table. You were finding the one that would that had one digit that represents 10 times the value of the digit to its right. So for that to work, the numbers had to be the exact same. 6 and 6 is your answer there, because 6,000 is worth 10 times as much as 600. None of the other ones could have worked because these don't match. 9 and 3 aren't the same. 3 and 9 aren't the same. 2 and 4 aren't the same. These are the only ones that had the exact same numbers side by side. So your answer was 26,647, and you should have explained that by saying 6,000 is 10 times greater than 600. Number 6, you had to take that number and write it in expanded form and using number names. So that's word form. So that would have been 20,000 plus, if there's zeros, you just skip them. 20,000 plus 30 plus 3. And then you should have written it as words as well. 20,000 33. Okay, second page. I got a few more. For each number, give the whole number that represents the value of the underlined digit. Write your answers in the boxes. So that means look at what place value is underlined and write down how much it's worth. It's just making it a little wordier. So the 7's underlined here, that's 7,000. Then the 7 underlined here is 70,000. Then 700. Whoop, I don't need a comma. And then 70. So the word whole number just means regular number. Value means how much is it worth. Part B wanted you to do the same thing we did in number 5, I think. You're going to look at these numbers and see which one has an underlined digit that's 10 times the value of the digit to its right. So those numbers have to match just like before. These have 2 7s side by side, but so does D. Both of these have 2 7s side by side. So the clue here is the word right. This underlined digit doesn't have a 7 to the right, it's got a 0. This underlined digit does have a 7 on its right side, so that is the right answer. Number 8. Rhode Island has about 356,000 acres of forested land. Forested land is just trees. What is the number in standard form, so the normal way, rounded to the nearest 10,000? So the number 356,000 rounded to the nearest 10,000. My 10,000 was a 5. I look at its neighbor, and the 6 tells me it's going to go up. So that would have been 360,000, or choice A. Alright. Number 9. You're seeing which one of these compares the numbers correctly. So remember, the alligator always wants to eat the bigger number. And your answer here was A. B should have had an equal sign. And then C drew the symbols the wrong direction, and so did D. In number 10, you were putting the symbols in yourself. So the alligator would have eaten this one because the 9's the bigger number. Then these two are equal. It would have eaten this number because 5 is bigger than 2. In the next number down, the 1 is bigger than the 0. And in the last one, the 7 is bigger than the 6. So your symbol should have looked like this. Alright, now this one, number 11, I've already got a little bit of it done. This table shows you 4 different baseball games. It asks you to figure out which one had the least amount of people and the most amount of people. So the least was game 4. It had 41,779, and the greatest was game 1 with 45,753. But it said write it the number name, so that meant write it in word form. And I've already typed that out here and here just to save time in the video. So you should have written it as words as well. Then finally, it said to draw a place value chart. Now I told you could skip that part, but if you wanted to do it, it was asking about game 2. Game 2 had 42,250. So I told you write that down, but I told you didn't have to do the chart if you didn't want to. All they mean about a chart is to put little boxes and split up the place values and name them. So like this place value chart would have went with this number. Then it said to talk about how the 2's compare. So here's a 2, here's a 2. This one's in the thousands, this one's in the hundreds. So I know this one's worth 10 times more, right? So I could have said 2,000 is 10 times greater than 200. And then I'm done. So now that you're done watching the review video, join Zoom again and let's see if anybody has questions and talk about it. So come back to Zoom.